There are people in every community that are negative just for the sake of being negative. And they're not really looking for a solution. They just want to hate just because they're a hater. So much of the negative comments are them saying something because they don't have all of the information. So it's not even really their fault. It's more your fault because you haven't done a good job of informing them. If you want your communication to sound more human, have it come from an actual human.
When you're looking into somebody's eyes, it just builds trust.
Benji, in this episode, we're talking about how to build trust with residents. We want government entities to actually connect with the residents and the businesses in their community. And we know that that connection doesn't happen unless those people feel a sense of trust. So how do they build trust with their communication? What, practical things can they do in order to make their residents feel that trust and ultimately build a deeper connection with them?
I think it's really important to talk about trust. I also think that's such a big word. Yeah. So when we're thinking of trust, our listeners could be thinking of multiple different things. We really boil it down to a framework, a guide, a tool. And so we'll talk through that in this episode, what we call the 3 T's of trust, because ultimately, I do think it's important to know what are we driving at, but you said it really well there. So just tie connection to trust. Ultimately, we want residents to feel that sense of connection. How are we going to do that? Well, only if they trust us. So the framework, the 3 T's of trust, the first T of the 3 T's is transparency. And how we broke this out and how we want to talk about it is we want to give away the word, but then really a question that frames it. And so the question for this one is, do they tell me the truth? And trust clearly can't be built unless there's a level of truth telling and people feel like, oh, they're not just posting for their own benefit, but they're posting in a way that is transparent. And so some ways that you would do this is, one, you would share the facts, and sharing the facts can be, okay, maybe we can't share everything about this. We've had towns, even like things residents are curious about. Maybe it's an ongoing investigation. In that situation, you literally cannot say everything. And so you would just say that, but it's like, this is an ongoing investigation, but we can say fact, fact, fact. And so not to just take us to ongoing investigations, but in general, you want to be known as a place where people can go and get actual truth about what's happening in their community, a trusted source. The other one would be showing your work. And this is a more positive thing that we encourage municipalities to participate in. But when you're sharing and showing, for many local governments, they're doing like 100 things a day. And it's exciting to be transparent about, oh, hey, we have this going on. We're also doing this. We're trying to accomplish X. And so when you're transparent, that builds trust. Like, oh, our local elected officials are actually doing things that are going to better the community. And so they're out there and they're working hard, and you just want to document that. And so having a muscle that you're growing to actually share those things builds trust over time. And I want to get your take on it, but I'll quickly highlight 2 other ways that you could be transparent, which is you're keeping residents informed and you're actually like posting helpful information that they want to engage with, and you're opening a dialogue, which I think is, okay, sweet, you're posting this, but do people actually like comment? Does it create any feedback loop? Is there an emotional perspective, which emotion might sound like this weird word to use there, but it's like, does it actually get people to engage in any way where it's hitting on curiosity or their desire for a better community or their fear? Those 3 core emotions that people have, you want to ensure that we're doing something with that so that people feel like they're going to engage with the content we're posting.
Yeah, I think you really nailed it there. One thing that I'll also add is, to the show your work point, that a lot of times residents don't even realize all of the stuff that a government entity is doing for them. And, maybe if you ask them, then, it's like, yeah, they know that, the Public Works Department takes care of the streets and the alleys and, public facilities and cuts the grass and all of these things that they do, but they don't think about it, on a regular basis. But when you put it in front of them and, it's like, yeah, the reason your street looks so beautiful is because we've got a Public Works Department that's killing it, that's working hard every day to do that. It just makes them feel like, oh wow, like, the city really cares about the way that our community looks. They're really invested in working hard and to make sure that, we live in a beautiful community. And just that alone, like that gratitude that then they have, that they're reminded of, through that social media content, over time it just continues to build their trust
Yeah.
into, the city that they live in.
Yeah, that's good. And trust, ultimately connection.
Exactly.
All right, that's awesome. Yeah, transparency is the first one there.
The second T of the three T's of trust is timeliness. And the question that we use to frame that out is, do they keep me informed? So, speed at which you post things is often better than making sure that something is perfect.
Mhm.
When those emergency situations happen, when there's a road closure because there's a car accident or there's a water main break and, people are going to be without water in a certain area, the faster you get that word out to them, the more valuable it is to them, the more thankful they are, the more they trust you. So speed in those certain circumstances will drastically increase the amount of trust that they have in you.
What's interesting actually, because I was thinking about timeliness also from the perspective of your public works example. The timeliness of that is not that it's urgent, but that most municipalities just never post about it. So
Mhm.
they are never timely because they never talk about this service that they offer. So if you're thinking about ways to be transparent and timely, one of the things I would encourage you to do is to think in multiple ways about like your visuals. So you might go, okay, we do want and we do value high quality photography, but we are also going to equip different departments with and encourage them to use their iPhones to snap quick pictures of things that they are doing so that we can also mix in those photos to what we're posting,
Yes.
because that's one of the main breakdowns when it comes to timeliness and transparency is if you're doing 100 things but you feel like you have to capture any one of those perfectly in order to post about it, you're probably it's almost impossible to post about it. It's highly unlikely. So again, that good mix of I'm going to use the phone in my pocket, I'm going to equip the people on our teams to do that, and we're going to get information out fast.
Yep.
We had an example with one of the towns we work with where they were plowing snow last winter, and it was like just having an iPhone video of one street being cleared.
Yeah.
That video was for that town, right? It's not like it actually went viral, but like
Yeah.
way more engagement
Yep.
than you could even imagine because we actually captured the work that the town's doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's another thing, a point that I want to bring up, which one can almost be a fail safe to that. Like,
Okay.
if you don't have somebody, or if you're trying to get somebody to take a photo of something, but it really just is so bad that you don't even want to use it. So
Which does happen.
It does happen. So it helps answer that. And then also, yeah, just like if you don't have somebody and you need to get something up quickly, something that we do with all of our residents is we have pre-made templates for those situations
Yeah.
that help us become more timely.
Mhm.
So we have community update graphics that, are nicely designed with actual photos from the community or from the staff, from the fire department, one for the police department, one for the public works department. And we use those in those certain situations where we need to get something up quick. We don't have, someone out there that can take a good photo
Yeah.
or a quick video of it. But it still allows us to not have to worry too much about the visual and just to get things done and up there very quickly.
That's good. Okay, so there's 3 T's. There's transparency, there's timeliness, and then the third and final is tone. Question with this one is, do they treat me like a human? There's a level of warmth in the communication. That's what we're hoping to achieve. Storytelling is a big deal here. How do we, yes, we're trying to get across information, but are we doing it in a way where it feels like trust could be gained? Or are we talking at someone? We're telling them announcements. We're telling them what they should care about instead of actually like, no, we're gonna think from their perspective and speak in a tone that is friendly and less like bureaucratic. So I think when you put all three of these together, it creates posts that can build connection and build trust simultaneously. This episode is brought to you by City Social. Our team helps towns just like yours show up confidently online, and we know that local governments face huge demands and often have limited staff. That's why we step in as a partner to help you handle strategy, design, and posting, all tailored for municipal communication. We're a team with 10 plus years of government communication experience. We've served more than 80 communities and have reached more than 2 million residents through our partnerships. So if you're ready to transform how your residents see and engage with you online, visit citysocialms.com and book a call now. All right, let's jump back into the show.
One thing I'll say with tone, and it kind of sounds silly, but if you want your communication to sound more human, have it come from an actual human. And video content is something that we've been pushing a lot of our clients to. And having a video where there actually is a person on camera delivering a message, whether it's an update, whether it's an event advertisement, but somebody talking about it is automatically going to make it seem and come across more human because there is a human
So
on
much
the
more
other
personal.
side of the camera.
Yes. Yeah, when you're looking into somebody's eyes, it just builds trust.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's what I'll say on that. And then I want to talk about some practical ways that that government entities can build trust online. Our first point is actually kind of what we were just talking about, but showing that human side of government.
Yep.
We've done a lot of highlights of police, fire, municipal leaders, and when you can actually show those people, and it's not just through video, it's also through photos. But when people can put a face to the government,
Right.
they're a lot more likely to start to feel that connection and that trust with them when they could put a face, to the name, so to say.
And to build on that, our second one on this is addressing issues with educational content. So not just informing, but working to educate. If there's a topic that's hot in your community and you can be proactive to have somebody on camera addressing that and saying, this is what we're doing to address said issue. This is how we this is how we're thinking about it. This is the options that we're pursuing. Giving that level of education shows what's being thought through. A lot of times, people who are uninformed or ill-informed, they think they know an entire issue, and then the government stays silent on it, so they feel like they're right, but they never got the information or the education. And we behind the scenes know, right? The municipality knows, well, this is actually a way more complicated issue because you're in the nuance, you're in the meetings, you're in all this stuff. So again, it's like, what's the right level of, we are going to be transparent here so that people realize this is more complex. We are actually trying to do something, and we give that away in educational video content. We've seen that be extremely helpful and extremely well received by those that we work with in the towns and the municipalities that prioritize it.
Yeah, that's so good. Another point that will help you build trust is actually interacting with the people that are interacting with your page.
Yeah.
So we've seen it so many times where, you'll have a good following in your community of people that support you, of people that are positive, about the stuff that you're doing, and that maybe are even engaging with your post. They're liking it, they're commenting it, and then you see that the government entity is just like silent in the comment section. The third practical way that you could build trust online is by having a page that highlights the good happening in your community. And if you think about it from a resident's perspective, you want to feel good about the place that you live. You want, to know that you're raising your kids in a family, or you're raising your kids in a community that you feel proud of.
Yeah.
So when you highlight the positive stuff that's happening, it just continues to reinforce that pride that residents have in the place that they're living.
That's a good point too, just to really quickly dive in on that, because so many of the municipalities' pages that we look at are press release information, come to this event. But like even on the events, right? They post about come to the event, and then they rarely post great pictures at the event or after. So then it's like, okay, you're not really growing pride off of that. You're essentially, you have a town bulletin board. So when you really do lean into this idea of posting good and you are increasing town pride, that has so many ramifications and ripple effects.
Yep. Yeah, that's good.
I like that one a lot. Okay, the last one on here that we had was interacting with residents who are engaging, which is kind of an overlooked thing. It's like you probably have a few, what would you call them? Like super users of Facebook that are just commenting on all your stuff. And that's often an overlooked opportunity where there's municipalities who are like, oh, sweet, somebody commented, and then they don't comment anything back. Even if it's simple or you can't give away all the information on the question that's being asked, actually responding to that is really powerful. One, because your exposure on that post goes up. The people that are commenting, that's showing up to their friends. And it just increases the likelihood that on future posts, it's like, oh, this is a municipality that actually does engage in the comments. So when I comment, I'm not going to get ghosted. I'm not going to, like, someone's actually going to look at this and respond to me. So I think that's really important if you're trying to build trust, to say when someone's we're not just talking at people. When someone talks to us, we engage.
Yeah.
Which, well, what's your thoughts on this? And
Yeah.
then,
So, well, a point I was going to make though
Okay.
is that I think that municipalities can do a decent job of engaging in the comments when somebody's asking a question, but they very rarely will ever engage when someone's just making
statement.
a comment or a statement. Yeah. So
Overlooked
it's
opportunity.
even when someone's being positive,
Mhm.
when someone's like, "Oh yeah, I went brought my family to that event and we had a great time." Commenting back, "Hey, we're so glad that you came, we'd love to see you at our future events," or or whatever. We're glad you came,
Yeah.
and like their comment.
Mm.
Even just little things like that. One, it helps to, build the human side of government like we've talked about. And two, it's like when you're having a back and forth, kind of interaction with somebody, we're talking about building trust, and that's exactly what it does.
Yeah,
Like
it has to be a conversation.
it has to be a conversation. It has to be a two-way street in order for somebody to feel like they have built that level of trust with you.
So nuanced question here based on your 10 years of experience. It's all good until that negative comment comes onto the post.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we were engaging with all the good stuff, and now we're kind of like, how do we engage with this negative thing? Obviously we would advise have a social media policy in place. That's a good first step. But then, like, if you're advising someone even on that social media policy, you're engaging with all these comments and then there's this negative one. What is your sort of litmus test for if you engage with it or not? How do you think about it?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things. There are people in every community that are negative just for the sake of being negative. And they're not really looking for a solution. They're not really looking for a dialogue. They just want to hate just because they're a hater. So I would say, you know, in those circumstances, you don't need to always interact. You don't always need to respond.
Mhm.
And sometimes it is better just to ignore it. Another thing that like sometimes we do with our clients is like, okay, someone posted this negative thing, and it's kind of just like a hater hating. Let's just let it sit
Yeah.
and see if it's getting any traction. And if it's not good, then you just let it go,
Right.
and you move on, and everyone forgets about it, and moves on to the next thing that comes up in their feed. But if it is something, that is building traction, then it needs to be addressed. Or two, if it's a negative comment, but it actually is
A
a
valid.
legitimate thing, it's a valid, complaint about something, then yeah, you should address those things.
Mhm.
Because if you're not addressing them, and staying silent on it, then you're risking it blowing up into something even bigger. And especially a lot of times, there's so much of the negative comments, are them saying something because they don't have all of the information.
Right.
So it's not even really their fault. It's more your fault because
Not
you haven't
informing.
done a good job of informing them and
Mhm.
communicating. So sometimes, all you really need to do is get out the actual facts and the information about it.
I think
Most
it looks
people let
more
it die down.
proactive to at least do that when you can.
Yeah.
And if they come back with more hate or what, then you need a level of discernment to go, okay, maybe just stop here, right?
Yeah.
Like, use your wisdom. That's why you have the social media policy.
Yeah.
But showing some level of facts, and then that shows also that you're level-headed in your response, and equipping people to know, hey, we're going to be a municipality that comments, and like this is going to happen from time to time, and that's okay.
Yep.
That's good.
Good. Benji, I think we had a lot of good stuff in this episode. We want to give a takeaway to the people watching. We encourage you to go back, look at your last, say, 10 posts on social, look at, how you're interacting with people in the comments, if
Mhm.
you even are at all, and then compare those posts to the 3 T's of trust.
Yeah.
And if you want to take things a step further, we created a guide to social media for municipalities. It's a free download that we have on our website. It talks about, the civic framework that we have. It talks about the 3 T's of trust, gives some other practical tips on there. So if they want to download that,
Yeah.
they can go to citysocialms.com/guide, and that's a free download. So thank you for watching today. We appreciate everything that you do, and we'll see you in the next one.